That's great, Glenn. Thank you for covering all of that. Lots of detail there, lots of detail. I'll just remind everyone who's listening in that if you have questions, go into the question panel within the webinar console and input your questions there. Glenn will be monitoring those questions here, and when we get to the Q&A a little bit later, we'll be getting responses on all of that. So for this next section, I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about the work that APOS has done relative to replacing BEx Broadcaster workflows. And this is something that we've been active in for quite some time, and we've worked with quite a number of customers who are doing exactly this. Some of this has gone back a few years for organizations that were ahead of the game, but certainly we know that there will be lots of organizations that will have to be considering this topic as October 2025 comes forward. So in our work with organizations in general about who they need to get reports distributed out to, and also very specifically with BEx Broadcaster reports as well, we find that there is a wide range of organizations and a wide range of user communities that people need to get reports distributed out to or pushed out to. And so that holds very true, and you can see some of the most common user groups that do need and do require reports to be distributed out to them or broadcast out to them. And so certainly not an exclusive or an exhaustive list, but these are some of the most common scenarios. As we look to the SAP technologies for broadcasting, and you'll see them, and Glenn has referenced that, of course, BEx Broadcaster has been serving this need for a very long time. Business objects, and specifically the publications capabilities within business objects, is a key technology in this regard, as well as SAP Analytics Cloud and its publication facilities. So we want to spend some time talking about all of this and additional options. Okay, so of course we're here today because the fact that in October 2025, BEx Broadcaster is not going to be an option. So that starts to contain our avenues for how we can address this solution. And that brings us to business objects. And Glenn has said that is really the default option for many regards. As organizations move from BEx to Analysis for Office, they need to address that. And business objects has been serving this need very well for some time, and it has very rich capabilities in its publications to be able to support Analysis for Office broadcasting. The challenge that we are hearing from organizations is that many of the organizations are looking to reduce their reliance on business objects. So if it's an organization who has been using business objects for a very long time, there are lots of very happy business objects customers who will continue to use business objects for some time, well into the future. But there are others who want to reduce that reliance. So depending on your scenario, business objects publications may be the perfect destination for handling your broadcasting, or it may be something where you need to look for another avenue, which then takes us to SAC and SAP Analytics Cloud publications. We'll talk a little bit about this. It has some good capabilities. It has some limits. And so I want to outline those for you so that you're aware of that. And then lastly, as Glenn has mentioned, we want to make sure that you're understanding this option, which is our technology called APOS Publisher for Cloud. And this is the technology that we've been working with many different customers about addressing this broadcasting requirement. I'll tell you about a couple of customer scenarios here a little bit later, but I want to give you some outline on really what the solution is and what it's about. So first of all, though, I want to talk about the SAC publications and where that fits. So Publications is a facility within SAP Analytics Cloud in a similar way or similar concept as Publications is within Business Objects, but functionality, different platforms. So obviously there's quite a few differences. The main examples or main use cases are for scheduling an SAC story and sending that to a PDF as an attachment on an email, giving ability to customize the email body and perhaps putting a link to the story in that email. So these are some of the common use cases, and it serves those needs quite well. But as mentioned, there are some capabilities, and I want to outline those because certainly when it comes to the different content types, we need to understand what those limitations are. So specific to SAP Analytics Cloud stories, reports, there are some boundaries on the volume of scheduling that you can do, and that's based on the amount of licensing that you have for SAP Analytics Cloud. And another factor is the volume of recipients outside of the SAC user base that you can schedule and send reports to. So there are limits about that, and you'll want to understand how that would relate to you if you are an SAC deployment organization or will be. Some other features that we often hear from customers, one is conditional broadcasting, so being able to trigger broadcasting to happen perhaps at the end of a BW upload. That's very relevant. But this final point that I'm showing here right now is a critical one where we want to be able to, or organizations want to be able to distribute user-specific content to each recipient. So really everyone only gets their data. And so that's a very common requirement and one we consider to be very central to this whole topic. Email is the sole destination. Of course, that's an important one for most organizations, but we do work with other organizations who want to utilize other destinations. So in that regard, it does become a limitation or a boundary to be aware of. Continuing with content type of SAP Analytics Cloud applications, rather than a story or a report, the applications aren't supported within SAC publications, so no scheduling or broadcasting of those types of reports. However, again, for our conversation today, we really want to focus on SAP Analysis for Office and what does it address here. So it's critical that you understand that while Analysis for Office reports can be saved within the SAC repository, they are not supported with SAC publications. So that really brings up, as far as core tools, why Business Objects is such a key piece within that, because the SAC publications doesn't support Analysis for Office. So again, for the focus of our conversation today, that's a very important point, because for organizations needing to replace that BEx Broadcaster workflow, then Business Objects becomes the SAP default option for that. And again, I really want to emphasize the fact that Analysis for Office reports can be stored within SAC, just not scheduled. So with all of that in mind, that's I think the catalyst or the reason behind why the SAP product team for Analysis for Office has collaborated very closely with us. And so we work very well together to get a solution in place to be able to handle this Analysis for Office broadcasting. And so that's what we're going to be giving just some highlight today. So the solution that we do that within is the APOS Publisher for Cloud. And this solution has been around close to 10 years. And it's about 1.5 years ago where the support for Analysis for Office came into the solution. But you can see the central piece here is to be able to schedule, broadcast, distribute personalized content out to the right recipients, right time, right format, those real core concepts. Supports SAC reports, stories, supports analytical applications, and supports Analysis for Office reports. So those are really the key check marks that hit today. Some key functionality that the solution provides. We have dynamic data-driven processes, and this is really central when it comes to having that user-specific content created, generated, and distributed, and using that data-driven process for filters and variables, and to have a broadcasting or bursting definition that defines what formats and destinations each report should go to. The ability to bring content from multiple reports together into one single report, that sort of consolidation. That's more focused on SAC stories, but something to keep in mind. Different export options that we support depending on the content type. The ability to do broadcasting of just a specific component of a report. Security integration, of course, is always quite key, and security implications get more and more complex and challenging, and so we're handling some very important facets like multi-factor authentication, those sorts of things. Scheduling, whether that's integrated scheduling, whether that's workflow-based scheduling, whether that's conditional scheduling or conditional broadcasting, and the ability to have alerts and monitoring to track the whole process. So these are some key concepts of features and functions within the solution. The solution itself runs on a server within the customer's secure environment. It has a management console and a database that both stores broadcasting definitions as well can serve as a repository. So as mentioned, we can take analysis for office reports and store them within SAP Analytics Cloud repository. We function with that very effectively so that we can source those reports from that repository within SAC, or those reports can be stored directly within Publisher for Cloud in its repository. With those report templates, though, then we execute against the BW, HANA, or S4HANA environments, whether that's cloud or on-prem, and we utilize a broadcast recipient data source that's a separate data source to be able to drive the values of this bursting and broadcasting process. And then as a result, the content's generated and put into the right formats and sent out to the end recipients in a number of different supported destinations. So that's how it functions with analysis for Office. The same solution works with Analytics Cloud reports. So same solution, same deployment, just can work with both different content types, being able to communicate, again, with that broadcast recipient data, communicate with Analytics Cloud to generate the content and distribute it out to end recipients in the right format and to the right destination. So that supports all stories, any story, any data source, any data connection mode. And so that's often an important question for organizations wanting to understand that. But this topic of a broadcast recipient data source is quite important, and one that I'll just spend a quick moment on, because this is where all the data-driven and dynamic processes happen. So it's a data source that could be as simple as an Excel file, or it could be tables within S4HANA. But these are values that are going to drive the broadcast. So the broadcasting definition is created within Publisher for Cloud, and then this broadcast recipient data drives the specific values of that broadcast. And this is really what allows for the filtering for each specific user, as well as any other criteria that are specific to user around destination, around format, all of those facets. And so visually we can see just a very simple example within a spreadsheet that's got important data values that are going to drive this broadcast process. Publisher for Cloud utilizes that broadcast recipient data in combination with the bursting definition rules, and then oversees the process so that user-specific content is sent out to the end recipient group. In this case, a very simple example of a small group, each person receiving their own report for a salesperson group, but that could just as easily be a store network that's much, much larger, or production facilities. Really, the end recipients are not the factor here. It's the concept of needing to get user personalized reports out to a consistent user group.